The desert wind rushed across Ventusa's skin and tousled her hair. The wind was a lover, both harsh and gentle. When angered, he shoved. When calm, he caressed. But most of all, he danced. And through that dance, Ventusa soared high above the dunes. She came close to the Crescent Canyon, that fabled place in the Paracosma where Zarzalome gives way to Zillicar. Rotating gracefully, she angled her billowing cloak such that it reddened into the hue of the sunrise. The Sylph became a crimson zephyr against the dawning blue. She dove downwards and swept over the final series of dunes before the rocky ground that led to the canyon. The mounds were arranged in a great ring, and Ventusa taunted them by whipping their tops with her red trail. With a burst of sand, a dragon vaulted from the center of the dune ring. It snapped its jaws, just missing the Sylph.
You took the bait.
Ventusa twisted into a sharp turn. The dragon had no such aerial agility. His body was the size of a large estuary crocodile, and his expansive wings exaggerated the form even further. He was Yakazalim, the Terror. Spike-snouted and azure-scaled, with eyes of crackling fury, the monster re-angled himself and gave chase. His wings drove him on with surprising speed.
Now I see why we call you the Terror.
But Ventusa had spoken too soon, for in the next moment, Yakazilim roared. The very air itself shuddered. Panic struck the elemental, followed by a spray of lightning that flashed from the dragon's gullet. Electrified pain nearly dropped her out of the sky. She had been touched by bolts before, while dancing with storms. But this was something else. A brutality beyond even a mere tempest. Fast as Ventusa was, the scaly tyrant bore ahead faster still. She reached the lip of the nearest gorge and flitted down. This gained her but a moment, for the cuts of Crescent Canyon are deep and wide, and it was simple for the dragon to maneuver into the lower space. His mighty wingstokes tore through the air, propelled by murderous intent. With every growl of the behemoth, the Sylph's body shook.
I must reach them. I cannot die like this.
She rounded a bend in the gorge, her eyes scanning for any landforms to exploit. A thunderous crack from behind signaled another blast was to come. The Sylph zagged through the air, darting behind a rocky bulge just as the foe exhaled another surge of lightning. She entered the final stretch, a jagged corridor where the gorge narrowed, and outcroppings on either side jutted towards each other near the top of the escarpment, forming a bridge, save for a gap of 12 feet. Ventusa flung herself forward, veering at erratic intervals. The thick wing beats sounded loudly in her head.
He's too fast.
She dared to take the briefest glance back, and an open maw of dagger fangs overwhelmed her vision. She called out to the wind, and he answered. A gale enveloped her in an aegis of turbulence that whirred around her slender frame. Instead of biting into flesh, the dragon was met with a hurricane blow that knocked his snout aside. The force of the cyclone kept the creature at bay temporarily. Seizing the chance, the Sylph made a twisting motion with her hands and invoked a whirling cloud of dust that engulfed the dragon. He roared against the blinding grains that assaulted his eyes. A bolt of lightning erupted from inside the cloud, turning sand into flecks of glass that rained down to the ground. Ventusa avoided the tongues of death by only inches. She continued her frantic push for the quasi-bridge. The Terror resumed his pursuit, buffeting his wings with a fury that only a dragon possesses. The Sylph passed just under the gap between the two juts. As she did, 24 warriors of the nomadic Walisi tribe emerged from hiding. They pelted Yakazalim with spears and arrows. Startled by the jabs, he rocked to one side. His right half crashed into an outcropping, sending him spiraling downwards for a hard landing. Another group of warriors awaited the foe. They charged across the gorge floor with spears in hand. The tribesmen surrounded the wounded dragon, their obsidian spear tips lancing. Ventusa glided along on a warm air current. She mused.
Now the predator becomes the prey.